Hello, everybody, and welcome to Real Movie Talk. This is the show where we talk everything films and the industry that surrounds them. I'm your host, Dec. Otherwise, oh no, that's my other podcast. I'm your host, Dec, and with me, as always, is Ben.
Welcome to the podcast.
So, obviously, straight off the bat, let's just address the elephant in the room. Why we have been gone for so long. Honestly, this is completely all on me. I've just been so busy as of late. You've probably even noticed if you watch any of my YouTube channels, sort of the amount of videos I've been making, it's been less. I've just had a lot going on, so it's just been difficult for me. But I'm going to try and get more consistent with this podcast because, we need to keep this going. So yeah, I do apologize for that. Don't blame Ben, it's all me. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the news. Not that much news really, but this news we have got is quite big. So I'm going to start off with we got a new trailer for the next film from Marvel, and that is of course Spider-Man: Far From Home. We got the new trailer for that. Now, obviously, this is going to be acting as kind of like a palate cleanser coming after Avengers Endgame. We have a lot, and obviously we will be reviewing Endgame in this episode. But this is going to be acting as a palate cleanser for that movie and showing us kind of the direct fallout and the direct events that follow after Endgame. So, obviously, this trailer did a lot of cool things, definitely introduced a lot more elements. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of us came away with this trailer was they're bringing in the multiverse.
Yeah, multiverse. I don't know what you feel about it, but I'm very excited about it.
I think the possibilities now with the introduction of the multiverse are pretty much endless now. I think, a lot of us have been waiting. I think a lot of us were maybe expecting them to introduce the multiverse in Ant-Man, but I think obviously now they're doing it because we have Mysterio in this movie.
Travel, yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, we're going to do it this way. But what I like the fact that it's tied into Endgame. Like, I like the fact that, like, okay, well, the snap kind of tore a hole in reality, and now we have, like, this version of Mysterio, this version of Quentin Beck is coming in, and he's from Earth, whatever it was. And so the MCU is Earth 616. So that's
he's 833, he said.
He's 833, yeah. So this is really cool. Like, introducing the multiverse, this opens up so many ideas. Obviously, a lot of people are speculating this is how they're finally going to introduce the X-Men and the Fantastic Four into the MCU, will be via this. I'm not sure if that will eventually pan out, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. But just the introduction of the multiverse, it opens up the MCU to like so many new things. Like this is like when they first did Guardians of the Galaxy and they introduced space. It's like the next thing like that, where it just has opened up all these opportunities and all these different ideas that they can bring to the table with the multiverse. And we can even see like, really cool alternate versions of characters and things like that. If they ever want to bring back, Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans, like you could bring back like an alternate version of one of these characters, which I think a lot of people would be kind of open to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a way for all of that. But when I first watched the trailer and they mentioned multiverse, for some reason I was like, oh yeah, we already knew that. But I was thinking of Spider-Verse straight away. I don't know. I just made that link in my head and I was like, oh, Spider-Verse.
Well, what? Who knows? I mean, it could happen. I mean, the possibilities are there. Obviously, I think there's been a lot of talk about whether we'd actually see Miles Morales in the MCU now, because Miles Morales has obviously now kind of become the star for Sony now. So I don't know if we're going to see. Obviously, they did kind of set up Miles Morales in Homecoming. I don't know if we're ever going to see him, or if we'll even get the Sony version. Because obviously, technically, you could bring the Sony version in. Obviously, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was all about the multiverse, so they could do it. And what's interesting is that, and this has been confirmed as well. This has been said that the character designs for Spider-Verse, they are replicated after their voice actors. So if they ever wanted to go into live action, they could.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to bring in Shameik Moore as Miles Morales in the MCU, it is possible. And I believe he's around the same age as Tom Holland, so it would work quite well.
Right.
So, in regards to Spider-Verse, it could work. And I would love to see that introduced. Especially if we could get like Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy as well. It'd be awesome if we could get that. So I think there's a lot of cool ideas going on here. Also, just another great thing in this trailer is just like Mysterio. I'm so excited Jake Gyllenhaal is in the MCU. Just seeing Mysterio, like, because one thing I loved about Homecoming was how they made the Vulture so grounded and so real. Like, Vulture is such a silly villain in the comics, but they actually made him so real and like a proper threat. And the same thing is being done here with Mysterio. Like, he actually looks like this real kind of character, this real threat. And that seems really impressive and really fun. And, you can't really get a better actor than Jake Gyllenhaal at this point. So, I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm super excited. That was the main thing I took out of the trailer. Number one, the multiverse, obviously, but then seeing Jake.
Yeah,
I love Jake, although I hated Velvet Buzzsaw earlier
yeah,
this year. But that's not his fault.
no,
I don't blame that on him. He's, like you said, one of the best sort of young actors working today, and seeing him in that clip, like there was a clip
yeah,
released yesterday, and I really like the idea of Mysterio. I haven't read him in the comics, so I don't know too much about him, but because he's supposed to be like the way they're showing him in the trailer and in the clips, he's supposed to be like a friend of Shield, of like Nick Fury and Spider-Man, but then somehow maybe they'll twist it. Well, we're expecting to be a twist. Maybe he's not a villain. I don't know, but yeah, I'm excited because we don't really know what's going on with his character yet.
yeah. I mean, the character of Mysterio is all about illusion. It's all about the idea of, because what's really cool about Quentin Beck is, as a character in the comics, he's actually a cinema projectionist. And he kind of uses that technology in his kind of super suit, and so he's all about illusion. So yeah, the idea of him, being a good guy is probably going to go away at some point, and we are probably going to see a twist of some kind. I actually saw a really cool theory that ever since this multiverse thing was announced, that basically there's going to be like a play on Enemy, like the movie Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, where
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either. I own it on Blu-ray because I need to see it because it's Denis Villeneuve.
Denis, yeah.
But obviously that movie is about doppelgangers, where Jake Gyllenhaal plays a doppelganger, and there's a theory going around that maybe this version of Quentin Beck that we see in the trailer is actually a hero, and then we're going to see the Earth 616 version of Quentin Beck kill that version and then take over and become the villain, sort of thing, which would be a really cool idea. And bringing in that idea of doppelgangers, because again, that is possible now. So that would be awesome. But I'm just so happy that they've got Jake Gyllenhaal in the MCU, especially playing a character like Mysterio. It's awesome.
I feel like it's a really good choice for him. Like if he was playing like just a kind of generic villain that you can expect at every point, I don't think that's right for Jake, but I think this seems to be right.
Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping for Mysterio for this movie. Like, he was my top choice for the villain. Like, after the Vulture, I was like, okay, we need Mysterio now. And yeah, when they announced that, I was happy. And then after Jake got announced, I was like, brilliant. They did announce like some other stuff as well. Like the director John Watts has said some things. Like he actually officially explicitly said Miles Morales is not in this movie. He also said that Liz and the Vulture are both not in this as well, which I'm slightly disappointed by. I really wanted to see Michael Keaton come back. I thought he was fantastic in Homecoming.
I thought he was good. Yeah, I thought he was pretty good.
I really loved him. Like, he honestly might be my favorite MCU villain, honestly. I mean, it's a bit of a tough competition between him and Thanos, but I think I really loved him, so I was kind of sad not to see him return. But, either way, we still have Jake Gyllenhaal, so that's great. Is there anything else in this trailer?
Nick Fury. I love Nick Fury. Also, kind of cool seeing, like, I know it's big spoilers, but it was in the trailer, so we can talk about it. But
the spoiler
like you said, the
officially
links
lifted.
Be careful. The leaks, not the leaks, sorry, the connection to Endgame and how it ended. I like that. I liked that they are going to play on that and they're not ignoring it.
Yeah. They are, like, literally, there's a message that comes from Tom Holland himself right at the beginning of this trailer where he says, if you've not seen Endgame yet, there will be trailers. And literally, the trailer opens up literally with a massive spoiler. So, yeah, you have to obviously know that going in. But I think, looking at that, looking at the connection, looking at the impact that Tony Stark had on Peter, you can really see that here. And you can see that Peter is really trying to live up to Tony's legacy in that way, which I think is a really nice touch. Just seeing him kind of adopt that mantle in a way. We get to see some really cool shots as well, like the stealth suit. We get to see a bit more of the Iron Spider suit, which I think before this point we didn't know was in the movie, but it is now. So I like that. And I do quite like the stealth suit as well. We also get to see a bit more of the Elementals. They're really cool looking. They're also from They're from Mysterio's Earth, I believe.
The villains, like the water guy,
the Elementals,
or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I believe they're from. I don't know if they're from Mysterio's Earth, but I know they're from another Earth in the multiverse. They did say that. I'm just not sure if it's Mysterio's or just another random one. But I'm excited to see the Elementals come in, like say Hydra Man, and there's a couple others as well. They're going to be cool to see. I think
cool.
They're going to create some really cool looking action. Like the one in London looks great. Also, that black and red suit, I love it. So yeah, this trailer, it's definitely got me more excited for Far From Home. I mean, I was already pretty excited about it. I love the first trailer, but like, I just get like, honestly, if you don't know, Homecoming is actually my favorite MCU movie, so I'm hyped for this. I'm super hyped for this.
I didn't know it was your favorite. I loved it first time, then I watched it again. I was got a little bit. I don't think it's too rewatchable in my opinion. I actually sort of started dozing off.
Yeah,
I feel really bad because I really liked it first time, but I just don't think it's the most rewatchable film.
I think my thing is with Homecoming was I wasn't looking forward to it, and I think that's because I was like, oh, I don't care about another Spider-Man movie. Like, I really don't want another Spider-Man movie, because I was like, even though I really liked him in Civil War, I was like, I just don't care. But Homecoming,
well, because of the other Spider-Man.
Yeah, I just kind of like Spider-Man fatigue a little bit. I was kind of just like, ugh, like I don't really need another one. But Homecoming felt super fresh to me, and I was like, okay, I like this.
Yeah, I was kind of opposite. I was like, oh, because the thing is, I really like the Amazing Spider-Man films. I love Andrew Garfield. I think he's the best Spider-Man, in my opinion. But so the thing going for me into Homecoming, I was like, someone new as Spider-Man, because I really liked the last version. So I'm from a bit of a different angle, but Tom Holland, but he's not my favorite. So
I do love Garfield. I do love Andrew Garfield. Like, not only just as an actor, but I do love him as Spider-Man as well. I didn't love the Amazing Spider-Man films, but for me, like, say, I was kind of done with Spider-Man. I was kind of tired of it. Like, even though it's because I was expecting to get like another Green Goblin movie, and I was like, I just don't want that.
Thing is, right? I'm excited for Mysterio. That's exciting, but I do number 3. My favorite Spider-Man villain is Hobgoblin. I so want him in live action. We've never seen him. Well, have you ever watched the animated show?
I haven't, but I mean,
he's the freaking best.
They've got Ned Leeds. He's in the show.
He's in the
comics. The movie.
Yeah, or maybe with the multiverse, they can introduce a different version of him.
Maybe, yeah, because it would be pretty difficult to kind of do this version of Ned Leeds as the Hobgoblin. But I mean, again,
he ain't gonna be a Hobgoblin.
Yeah, but I mean, it's possible. That'd be, like I say, this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, I was so tired of Spider-Man movies, but Homecoming was so fresh for me because we got a completely new villain that we'd never seen before. We got, like, even the love interest, it wasn't Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy, it was like an entirely different character. I really enjoyed that. Like, the way they did Flash Thompson was completely different.
I like Flash in this.
Yeah, like, it's completely different, and it's like, and that's what I mean, like, with that we got an original villain, with this movie we're getting a new villain, so I really hope for this third Spider-Man movie, which we'll probably get in 2021, I really want to see another new villain. Like, don't give us a Green Goblin or, you know, Dr. Octopus or anything like that. Like, I'd be so happy if they did Hobgoblin or anything else, like literally anything else. The only ones I'd kind of accept are like ones that they kind of done badly in the past, like maybe if they wanted to redo like Electro or something like that. But anyway, going on.
It'd be cool if they did Kingpin in live action, like in the films. But I think that'd be cool.
See, I would love to see that, but it would have to be Vincent D'Onofrio.
Huh. No, I'd be fine with someone else.
But that would be such a kick in the face to him, though. Like, that is the MCU Kingpin. Yeah. That is the definitive MCU Kingpin. Is Vincent D'Onofrio?
But...
Okay. Here's another Spider-Man 3. Okay, for the idea, we need Spider-Man, Daredevil, played by Charlie Cox, team up to take down the Kingpin. That's my Spider-Man. That's my ideal Spider-Man 3. There's no way Sony will play ball, but okay. Anyway. Moving on. Tickets are also now available for Far From Home, so if you want to go book them, you can do that as well. Now, moving back over to Avengers Endgame, the box office for this movie has been absolutely insane. The movie has currently sitting over $2 billion at the box office. It made $1 billion in its opening weekend. This movie is shattering records left, right, and center, and kind of the big final question now is it going to top Avatar?
Cool. I'm actually kind of like on edge. I think there is a high possibility it will. Ability it may not, because when you think of it, I'm looking at the statistics now. It's done it so fast, but then you've got competition, like many people have been mentioning. You got Detective Pikachu. Yeah. I reckon that's going to. It's not going to blow anything out of the water, but it's going to make some money, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to take a bit of steam off Endgame. I think lots of people are still going to see it, mainly rewatches. Some people who aren't maybe as invested, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go see it, whatever, later in the next couple of weeks. There's a option that it may not make it because of, Detective Pikachu. Then you got Aladdin, then you got Godzilla after. And when you look at Avatar, if you look back, it was 2009 December, and there wasn't too many big films after that, and it was open for 8 months. 8 months. And I think Endgame will last a while, but it's got a lot of competition because this is going into the summer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, Avatar opened when there was really nothing else, whereas Endgame has actually dropped right at the peak of going into summer now. And like you said, there's a lot of competition coming up. Like May alone is a big month. Detective Pikachu comes out at the end of this week. That's going to be the first kind of big May movie. We've got like things like Aladdin and Godzilla, John Wick. Like, we've got a lot of big films coming out. So, and that's just only May. Like, we've still got June, July. It has to have those legs. And I think Endgame will have legs. And personally, my prediction, I think it is going to top it. If it's done 2 billion, I think it will do it. I really don't see it not crossing that mark. I really
think it will absolutely 100%. Would you bet on it?
Don't put me in that position. Oh fuck. Okay. Sure. Okay. Why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's still got 520 million to go. That is still a lot. Like, I know it's made 2.26 million right now, super fast, but wow, because that's a lot of butts in seats, and I feel I have this feeling that it's going to get to like 2 million, what the hell, 2,700,000 and like 80, but miss off by like zero point 0.8 or something. Like,
I'll be fuming.
like it's going to get right up close and then just sort of stop, I reckon.
Literally, I just feel like if it does that, I'll be so upset. But like every movie, like, there is, in my opinion, there's no movie that deserves to be the top spot than Endgame. Like, if any movie is, and the thing is, if any movie's gonna do it, it's gonna be this. Like,
I agree.
It's now or never. I think, like, because Avatar, like, its numbers are insane. Like, despite what you may think of the film, its numbers are pretty much unreachable. So, like, if any film is gonna do it, it's gonna be Endgame. And I just feel like it's gonna be such a momentous occasion when it does, because everyone, like, it still blows my mind that Avatar is the highest grossing film of all time. And I think you've got to look at as well with Avatar, it was the 3D as well. Like, everyone saw that movie in 3D, and obviously it was 3D ticket prices are more expensive than regular movie ticket prices. So with that into consideration as well, you also have to take into consideration, like, across America, also here in the UK, we have a lot of like movie pass things and stuff like that, which kind of accumulate different prices. Like, for example, like, I have the Cineworld Unlimited card, so I don't have to pay necessarily to see movies. So I'm not necessarily contributing towards Endgame's totals, but
I think it does in a way.
It does in a way, yeah.
Cut of it.
It does have a cut, yeah. It will do, yeah. But they're not going to be receiving my full kind of price, so it's you got to take a lot of things. There's a lot of consideration when it comes to these box office numbers, but despite it topping, or whether it does or not, it's still done incredibly well, and it's breaking so many records, and I'm so proud of it. Like, the fact that the MCU has got to this point, it's fantastic. It's great news. But we will talk about Endgame
just quickly
a bit later on.
Looking at the box office, Avatar actually made, like, in America, so they made 760 million domestically, and Endgame is only at 632 million domestically, so that's quite a big gap right now. And I know it will obviously probably make it to 700 million, but it's coming from around the world, their box office, like, a hell of a lot of it is. So Godzilla and Pikachu, like, Pikachu I think answers to a sort of massive worldwide audience, and so does Godzilla. They're going to suffer more so worldwide than maybe they will domestically.
Yeah, I mean, especially movies like Detective Pikachu and Godzilla are going to fare very well in Asia.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing to consider. Especially, Chinese box office markets are so big. Just the Asian market in general is really big. So I feel like, those movies are definitely a threat for it. But, it's just a waiting game now. We just have to wait and see how it does. I've seen the movie twice now. I am going to go see it again. I need to go see it again at some point. I just need to work out when. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But either way, it's still a great little story to watch. Now, sticking with Marvel news, we also got a casting news for the Eternals. We got Richard Madden, who, if you don't know, he's famous quite a lot of roles now, but he's probably most well known for playing Robb Stark on Game of Thrones. Now, I can actually kind of comment to this a little bit, because even though I don't actually watch Game of Thrones, I did actually watch it in its earlier seasons when Robb Stark was around. So I do actually know Richard Madden, and Robb Stark was actually always my favourite character, believe it or not. So I'm happy with this casting.
I love Richard Madden, especially in Game of Thrones, because I love Game of Thrones, but he's a great actor, so this is very exciting. The thing is, for me, I don't actually really know who the Eternals are. I get the gist that they're in space and stuff, so I'm not entirely hyped, but I'm excited to see that he's on. You got Angelina Jolie, who's normally a very, very good actress, so I'm excited. Also, Chloe Zhao, she actually directed that's supposed to be really good. Haven't seen it yet, but yeah, so it's all sort of pointing in a good direction.
It's a good cast overall. Like Kamal Nanjiani's in there, who I'm a big fan of. Also, I don't remember the actor's exact name, but he was in Train to Busan, which is an excellent film.
Ma Dong-sik. I can't say his name properly.
Yeah, we'll go with that. That he's in there as well. So this is shaping up to be a really good cast. The Eternals are essentially like, do you know DC's New Gods?
Yeah.
They're basically Marvel's equivalent to that.
Right.
Basically.
It's made by Jack Kirby as well. So
yeah. So it'll be a very, I think, in terms of a comparison to the films, it'd probably be most comparable to something like Guardians of the Galaxy. Not quite from a comedic standpoint, probably. Obviously, it will have comedy in there. It's a Marvel movie, but it will. It's not going to be like the comedy that Guardians of the Galaxy is. It will be a bit more of a space romp kind of thing. That's what I'm sort of picturing, anyway.
Like Green Lantern or something.
Yeah, but hopefully less shit.
Not the film, but like.
Probably, so a bit more like that, yeah. But anyway, good casting, and I'm excited to see who else we get cast, because this is shaping up to be very, very interesting. I'm a bit worried for the MCU, because they're going to start swallowing up all the actors. Like, we're going to have no actors left. Like, we can't fan cast anyone anymore, because they're all being taken. But anyway, we got some big news from Disney yesterday. And this is big news. They have essentially dropped their entire release schedule for the next 4 years, going from 2019 up to 2022. Not everything is named, not everything is titled, but we have release dates for basically every film that Disney is planning to release over the next 4 years, and this includes all of the properties they have now obtained from the Fox merger. So there's a lot of cool stuff to go through, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to discuss. So I'm just going to start off. I'm not going to go through obviously every single thing, because there's a lot here, but I'm going to talk about the sort of stuff. So 2019, there isn't really much to discuss other than the fact that those Fox movies have got like official dates now, stuff like Ford versus Ferrari and things like that. Ad Astra.
Astra was pushed back, wasn't it?
Yeah, so a lot of these films have been pushed back. Just a little bit, but they've been getting actual dates now, because the question was, would these movies survive? But it seems like pretty much all of them have, so that's fine. So they're all going through. Like, I know I'm pretty excited for Ford v Ferrari. So, and that's got a release date of the 15th of November 2019. So that's exciting. Yeah, obviously Ad Astra's got quite a lot of hype surrounding it as well.
And The Woman in the Window, that's Joe Wright's new film.
Yeah, so that's got a release date of the 4th of October. So there's a lot, they've got a lot there. So all those movies look to survive. Now, going into 2020, we do have a lot of other films as well, like Kingsman, that's going forward. New Mutants has been pushed back to 2020 alongside Artemis Fowl, that has also been pushed back. And then we also have like Death on the Nile, that's going through, which I'm happy about.
And West Side Story.
West Side Story's going through. Cruella. There's a lot of good stuff, and there's also, we have like official release dates for some of the Marvel and Pixar movies as well. Like, we have like Onward as well, which is the next Pixar film, and that's got the date of the 6th of March, so pretty early.
Only 2 Marvel films in 2020.
Only 2 Marvel films in 2020. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
But I'm pretty happy about that, to be honest.
It'll be refreshing. It'll be something a bit different. But then going into the next few years, we're going back to 3. What do you think those 2 Marvel movies are then? I reckon they're probably Black Widow and the Eternals, I imagine.
Yeah, I definitely think Black Widows and probably the Eternals as well, because you're getting all this casting to do with
Eternals. Yeah, they seem the most far ahead. Yeah,
Seems like it's all ready.
yeah. And I'm happy that Kingsman's still going through. I'm a big fan of that franchise, so I'll take
Yeah,
that.
looking forward to that. What do you think of New Mutants and Artemis Fowl getting pushed?
New Mutants, it does. I mean, it doesn't surprise me necessarily. I don't think that movie's ever going to see the light of day, honestly. Because what's funny is, I saw a news report as well. Gambit has finally been removed off the Fox schedule.
Yeah,
I think New Mutants is the new Gambit. I really do. I mean, obviously, I know New Mutants has been made, but
yeah.
I just don't. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I really don't. Obviously, it's got another release date now, which is the 3rd of April, 2020. We'll wait and see.
I think it's gonna happen actually. I don't think it's a Gambit. I think this sort of gives me a bit of hope. Like I thought the trailers for New Mutants were really good. I was very excited for it.
It's got a great cast. Like it's got a really good cast. It's such a good idea. Like doing like a horror take on X-Men.
Exactly. It's
really
brilliant.
good idea.
I love the concept, and I think with it at Disney and then moving it back, I think this does give them time to do the reshoots and they can do what they want to do. And I feel like, you know, they're going to push forward with it. I reckon it will come out, in my opinion. But Artemis Fowl, when I was like on the set and stuff, you know, people were working on the films. It was being reshot. Like most of the film apparently was being reshot. Apparently it was, according to some people, it was absolutely a mess. They said that's what they said. So
I'll be honest, the trailer didn't.
Kenneth Branagh. Yeah, that excites me, but the trailer wasn't that good, was it?
No, the trailer didn't grab me at all. Yeah. So that one, I mean, being pushed back. I think the thing is with Artemis Fowl as well, like in regards to like Disney's kind of lineup, it's kind of one of the films that has kind of fallen by the wayside anyway in regards to like the other films they've got coming out. So I think that's fine. And if it gives it time to, you know, come back, then it'll all be good. We've got another Pixar film coming out on the 19th. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what that is. I always get excited by these Pixar films, so that's all good. Jungle Cruise, that's another... Well, actually, that's
Emily
not a Disney
Blunt, right?
live-action remake.
That's Emily Blunt, right?
It's Emily Blunt and The Rock.
Emily Blunt excites me. I'll watch any of her films.
I think it could be interesting. I mean, it's based on a Disney World ride, so like you'd literally expect anything at this point. You could get like something really cool like Pirates of the Caribbean or something completely awful. We'll just have to wait and see.
What I want, I really wish they go for more films like The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. I know a lot of people didn't receive that very well, but I loved it, and I just really want them to explore some more fairy tales because I really find them really interesting, and yeah, I think they really work normally.
Yeah. And moving into 2021, we have a lot of untitled films, bar one. We have Avatar 2, which has been pushed back to the 17th of December, 2021, going for that December date. And then everything else is just untitled Disney live action, untitled Marvel, untitled Disney live action. Now, what is interesting, though, is that we do have basically a confirmation that we are getting a new Star Wars trilogy. Starting in 2022, and Disney and Star Wars and Avatar are going to alternate on December dates for each year. So 2021 is going to be Avatar 2, 2022 is going to be Star Wars, and then, you know, so far so forth, all the way going up to 2027, which is going to close out this alternation with Avatar 5. Bloody hell.
That's quite a long way.
I'm going to be 26 when that comes out. And to put that into perspective, I'm 17 right now.
Wait, what is it coming out in?
Well, Avatar 5 comes out in
December. Oh shit, I'm going to be 27.
Yeah. Like, think about that.
That's a long way away.
Yeah. Like, that's crazy.
I'll be 26 when that Star Wars film comes out.
Yeah. Like, it's mental. I mean, you know, seeing all these Avatar films, I mean, I'm worried for these Avatar films because I feel like this could be a Blade Runner situation where, you know, the film's going to cost them a lot of money and it's not going to make the money back. Because I'm sorry, Avatar, none of these Avatar sequels are going to make anywhere near as much money as the first one does. Like, Avatar 2, I think will do quite well because it's like the return of it. Yeah. But 3, 4, and 5, no.
I reckon, I don't know. I actually have a lot of hope because I have kind of fond memories watching Avatar when it came out
Avatar.
And stuff.
I'm an Avatar defender. I like Avatar.
I haven't seen it since I saw it in the cinema in 2009, but I think the sequels. I think, like you said, I think Avatar 2. I reckon it'll make like 1 billion or something, right? I think
Yeah,
it'll do pretty well, but I don't think it'll get anywhere near as big unless there is something that's mind blowing, like the first one. When I remember, I was only 9 when it came out, and I remember people being like, "Oh my god, you have to watch Avatar! It's the best thing in the world," and stuff like that. So we saw it. We went with my friends and whatever, and I was 9 years old, and we didn't barely go to cinema to see anything else apart from, you know, like Disney films or like Pixar films, or Night or something like that. So it was pretty big to get like a bunch of school kids going. So I think if they find a new way to revolutionize cinema in a different way, maybe they'll get close. But I think if they don't, if it's just the same old, it's gonna do well. And then I think by the time of Avatar 3, 4, 5, and so on, I think there's probably going to be a bit of fatigue because it's a lot and it's big gaps between the films. It's 2 years. So
yeah. And then we have Star Wars going on in between. So this is like a new Star Wars trilogy. Do you think this is the Rian Johnson trilogy or the Benioff and Weiss trilogy?
but the initial thought that popped into my head was Rian Johnson. I think they are more further ahead on his because obviously they are finishing off on Game of Thrones. They probably finished. They definitely have finished now. Sorry, but I don't think they've had time to prepare. And I know it's a while off, but I feel like Rian Johnson has been sort of planning it and Rian Johnson stuff first, personally. But yeah, I reckon it'll be Rian Johnson's. I don't know.
It's interesting because I think, obviously, like you say, Benioff and Weiss, they have obviously finished Game of Thrones, but I think they might want to take a longer break given the fact that they've literally done 8 seasons of Game of Thrones very, very well, and they're going to want to take a break, like a smaller break from that. Whereas Rian Johnson, like, I'm pretty sure Rian Johnson has even said this, like he's got ideas, and he's also, as soon as he finishes Knives Out, he's then going to go and start working on this. So
I reckon.
I think it's Johnson's trilogy. I'm just excited to see what that is.
I can't wait. Like, I hope it's something totally like
just different. Like
either thousands of years in the future or thousands of years in the past. That's what I want. You know what I want? I know this is just me sort of fanboying out, but I want some fucking lightsabers. I don't know. I just want them to do something different because I know Star Wars is not all about lightsabers. They're super cool, but I would like, for them to take the concept of what they did in like Attack of the Clones with the big lightsaber battle and make it into something that really works. And I think Rian Johnson can make that work. I think they need to go away a bit from what they've been doing recently, which is a lot of the sort of more towards the original trilogy. And I think they need to do something completely different. And I think if they have like a all-out war and like there's tons of Jedi in the future and the past, I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think like Rian Johnson obviously is very, very sort of controversial. Obviously, I mean that's an understatement when it comes to Star Wars. I personally love The Last Jedi. It's one of my favorite Star Wars films. So I'm thinking like this could be something really cool. For me personally, I'd love to see them go like really old and do like Knights of the Old Republic. I know that's something everyone says, but it would be super cool. Personally, I think it'd be awesome if Benioff and Weiss did that. Obviously, them coming from Game of Thrones, that would work quite and lend themselves to that quite well. Rian Johnson, I think, needs to do something completely unique and completely different, which I think he's completely capable of doing. So I'm excited. I'm excited for these. And I quite like the fact, I think it shows quite a bit of confidence in Disney, I think, to leave Star Wars now. Obviously, we're getting The Rise of Skywalker this year, which will close off this trilogy, and then we're going to have a break for 2 years. And then in 2022, we'll come back. And obviously, it's not going to be like completely dead of Star Wars. On Disney Plus, we are getting The Mandalorian and a couple other series here and there, which, and again, they're different and fresh things. Like The Mandalorian is going to be like a bounty hunter show, which I personally am super excited about. So, it's not like these 3 years are going to be like completely void of any Star Wars content. We're still going to have it, but, we're going to come back for movies in quite a 3 years' time, which I think would be a nice break.
I think it's a nice break as well.
I think it shows confidence. So anyway, that's all the news. Now we'll move into the review. So I'll hand it off to you. You've got a couple of reviews you want to dish out at first.
Yeah, so first off, Booksmart. So this is a film that everyone was talking about out of South by
Yeah.
Southwest, the film festival just a few months ago. Favorite film of the year. I'm still pushing between Booksmart, Endgame, and At Eternity's Gate. I think I need to rewatch them all, but I loved Booksmart. It's an absolute blast. That may be literally how I've laughed. I don't think I've laughed so much in such a long time because at one point in the film, like screamed. I was like, so basically, it's not really a spoiler. A character gets slapped in the face, and I screamed out, "Oh shit, she got slapped" or something. And I never do that. I was like dying with laughter. It's absolutely wild and hilarious, and it's probably one of the best coming of age films that I've ever seen. It's very kind of in the line of Lady Bird, but a bit more kind of baldy and out there and a bit crazy. And I thought it was a really, really great film that has so much charm. And Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein, who play the main characters, absolutely stellar, and they are brilliant. They deliver every line perfectly, and it's very, very similar to the idea of the coming of age story that was seen in Lady Bird, but it's very different, and it feels like a classic already. Like, you know, when you watch like A Quiet Place or something like last year, I was like, oh, that's a classic. You know, people are going to be talking about this. That's the feeling I get. So they play Molly and Amy. They are friends who basically being in high school, they were sort of all focused on doing their exams and stuff like that because they thought no one else would get into these universities, but it turns out they all do. And so when they find out, their worlds change upside down, and it's a crazy night that leads them down many different paths. And I think it's really the chemistry between the two characters, the two actors, and the writing that makes the film really, really work, because it never lacks a second, and it's so clever, funny the whole way out, and it is an absolutely wild film. That must be stated. It's crazy. And Olivia Wilde is the director. It's her first time directing. Very similar to, I know I keep on referring back to Lady Bird, but it did remind me of Lady Bird, and very similar to Greta Gerwig's success. I was so impressed. Very, very great control of every scene, because there is a lot of characters ensemble, and the ensemble adds everything to the background, and I think that's part of the reason why the film works as well. So it's just a great blast and really amazing film that is absolutely wild.
I actually missed out on Booksmart. I actually could have seen it on Monday, but it was also the bank holiday here in the UK, and I was really busy, and I didn't actually get the chance to go see it. But I think the trailer's great, and like I said, I heard a lot of good things, like you say, coming out of South by Southwest about it. And it's interesting that you mentioned Ladybird, because obviously I think one of the leads of the movie, she was in Ladybird, wasn't she? She played.
She was. Jeannie Feldstein.
Yeah. So there is a lot of similarities there. The movie looks very funny. Like, the trailer's great. It really made me laugh a lot.
So good. And can I mention just a few scenes? Like,
Sure.
just two scenes. It's not spoilers really, but in the trailer you see the bit when they're dancing on the street. That's right at the start of the film.
Yeah.
That is just brilliant. You feel like you know them straight away. And that scene, they're like, she pulls up and she's like, "Oh shit!" And then they start dancing together. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to school or what?" It's absolutely brilliant. I love that scene. And also, there is this scene later in the film. It's on, and you really get to see like this amazing pool scene, and it leads up to this revelation where in the trailer, I don't know if you remember, but there's the bit where she says, "Shotgun." Just kidding, don't have a shotgun. Just is the perfect example of its sarcastic humor that hits every time.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. I'm definitely excited to go see it. I think it comes out pretty soon. It comes out this month, I think, here in the UK. So I'm definitely excited to go check it out. Now, you've also gone to see Detective Pikachu, which I have also not seen. I'm seeing this movie on Friday.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu. I'm a massive Pokemon fan, I have to say that. Animated series, but more so playing the games, playing them on my DS. I bang the hell out of them. I know like basically all the Pokemon, so I was very excited. And going into this, I really did like the trailer. I had a few doubts, obviously, and this film, I thought Ryan Reynolds is excellent. He is so charming, so cute, hilarious as normal as Pikachu. He's the saving grace of the film because the film doesn't really have that much of a story, but the Pokemon are great in it. That must be said. So it's a pretty good film that is held up by Ryan Reynolds, but is sort of weighed down by the lack of a story. I think is a bit more focused on showing all these different Pokemon than an actual good story. So I think the Pikachu stuff is definitely easily the best thing. There's a great revelation towards the end of the film as to why he can talk. But Justice Smith and the other cast members who support, like Justice Smith, I don't think he's a very good actor. I don't know why people keep on casting him. He was in Jurassic World. He was that screamy kid that just kept shouting. And in this film, he really can't act very well. He's just not a very good actor. So he sort of weighed the film down, and the other supporting actors, sort of weighed it down a bit. But the only sort of saving grace is Reynolds and the Pokemon in the background and some of the scenes, because yeah, I don't know. It just seems like they were really miscast some of these human characters. I think it's the human characters that weigh it down, definitely. In this film, she's not very good. She has this cool opening scene. She comes out and she says every cliche line in the book. Cliche person in the film. I don't know, it's a mixed bag for me, but overall, I think the good weighs out the bad because of Ryan Reynolds is so good.
I mean, I'm not a Pokemon fan really. Like, I just didn't, even though I did actually grow up with Nintendo quite a bit. Pokemon was never really my thing. But like, I was like the first to dismiss this film when it first was announced. I was like, that's a stupid idea. But the trailers I thought were really, like, the trailers came out and I thought, yeah, this actually looks quite good actually. But yeah, I think this movie looks really cool. I'm seeing it on Friday. With Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu, I think it's an interesting choice, but also kind of makes a lot of sense. I was worried about Justice Smith because, like I say, in Jurassic World, he was really annoying, like incredibly annoying. So
that's the worst thing about the film.
Yeah, so that it's not showing great things for him, but I'll make up my own mind when I see it. I think the movie looks visually kind of interesting, and also from a comedic standpoint, should be pretty funny. So I'll make up my own mind when I go see it. But anyway, I can now join in on the conversation. We are now reviewing, obviously, the movie that we've been talking about pretty much all episode, and that is, of course, Avengers Endgame. This is the 22nd movie in the MCU, and the conclusion of what is being called the Infinity Saga. This is what the MCU has been building towards for the past 11 years. So, you know, do you want to do spoilers, or do you want to just kind
of... non-spoiler. I think it's a bit easier.
Okay,
we'll do not that easy, but whatever.
Yeah, actually, it makes it a lot harder. So yeah, non-spoilers. So don't worry, this is a spoiler-free zone. If you have somehow not seen the movie yet, there'll be no spoilers here. So let's just say, on a general level, what is your kind of opinion and feeling on the movie? I think, like, obviously now we've had like some time to kind of separate ourselves from it. What would you say is kind of your overall feeling about it?
I felt like when I first came out, and same time I went twice, so really touched by the film. This is what I've said to everyone, I've never felt so much emotion from a Marvel film. I've never felt so connected to a Marvel film, and I think that's part of the reason why I love the pacing, because it takes its time. It doesn't have big battles at the start, you know, every now and again. Oh shit, look, this guy comes down from space, fights people. No, It sort of waits, it takes its time. And I think the good example of it is in the opening, how they shoot Clint like with his family. It's sort of the camera's just there lingering the whole time, sort of just shaking a little bit. And I think that's a sort of example of how the film's narrative goes on. It just takes its time, and then once it gets to the big battle, which I won't spoil, literally the first time I watched it, my jaw was shaking. I was like, holy shit. I was I was sort of like, the second time I watched it in that big fight, bro, I was like, this is so fucking good. Why? And I felt like it really, really paid off. Like, it's not slow pace, but kind of simmering pace that was obviously slower than a lot of Marvel films. And so my overall feeling is I was really touched. It's heart wrenching, and it was a beautiful end. And the ending scene, oh my god, you don't know, like, because I cried like 5 times. I know the different points. I'm not going to spoil it. One time I watched it, that end scene, right?
Yeah.
Pouring with tears, and I never tear up so hard in a film.
Yeah. No,
It was literally because of my connection
Yeah.
to these two specific characters.
Yeah, that's what's so special about the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point, is that we've all been on this journey for so many years now. And no matter what point you kind of jumped on at, you're still so connected to these characters and to these storylines. And like I say, given the fact that this is the wrap-up, like, it just ties everything up so well. Like, it's such a brilliant conclusion. And, like you say, with, like, crying and emotion and things like that, I was crying throughout the entire last hour, like, non-stop. And I'm not saying tears, I'm talking crying. Like, I was crying. Like, the entire final battle, I was crying. Yeah, the end scene, I was crying. I'm tearing up now thinking about it. This movie, it's so special. This is like a cinematic event that just doesn't come around often. And when you just feel it, you really feel the weight of it. You really feel the gravitas of it. And honestly, this was like the biggest and best cinematic experience I've ever had, because I went to the midnight screening of this film, and it was the double bill. We got to see Infinity War again in IMAX before, and then we saw Endgame at midnight. And the vibe in the room, like, it was filled to obviously this is the midnight screening, so this is like filled with just Marvel fans, and the vibe, I've never felt anything like it. Like, the energy, just being there, like, when a film starts up and it has like the BBFC rating and the title.
Yeah.
There was literally everyone started like cheering and screaming, and there was a guy in the corner who went, "Yeah, boy!" Like, there's like people were like so excited, and people were like clapping and things like that. Like, there's a moment where Cap wheels and like that. Literally, my entire cinema erupted into applause. Like, that's definitely my favorite moment in the movie. It was just like insane. And then the ending, like when the signatures came up and stuff like that, people were clapping, and like it was so unprecedented, that feeling of just this connected nature that everybody had. Like, everyone was on the same page, everyone was super excited about it, everyone was just on the same level, just wanting to just see how this was going to end. And what an ending. Like, it was just so fantastic. The fan service, like, I've seen some people complain about the fan service, but at the end of the day, this movie is literally, I don't really want to say it, but it's for the fans. Like, I'm sorry, but it is. Like, this movie is for everybody who's been there from the beginning to, experience this journey from beginning to the end game. Like, that is what this is all about. And, it's not even like it's necessarily fan service. It's more like nostalgia at the same time. Like, seeing all these different things, like reminding us of like the journey that we've been on so far of these 11 years, going back to all these different things, these different characters, experiencing these things, and just tying like all these tiny little things. Like, even if it's just like a small thing, like a small character name or a small character cameo, like, it's just these little connected pieces that connect it to the overall branch of the MCU, and it just, again, reminds you of how connected this universe is. And just like everything, like the way they went through it, like the action's incredible. Like I say, the end fight is just, it's spectacular. Just like chills, goosebumps all the way through. The story's great. Like, obviously, I don't want to talk about, like, I do have a couple of negatives for it, which I'll get to, but just the story overall is great. The characters, like, obviously these characters are so rich and so well developed at this point. And even like just the performances, like Robert Downey Jr. got to show, I think, a new element in this movie. And Chris Hemsworth continues to impress me every single time. Like, from Thor Ragnarok to Infinity War to Endgame,
been much better. I'm really liking him now. I didn't
not only better,
particularly like him before.
Not only is he better, like, each film from Ragnarok to Infinity War to Endgame, it's been different. Like, Ragnarok, he was really able to show off his comedy, which Chris Hemsworth is so strong at. And Infinity War, he still did that, but it was grounded to the level, like, the Russos are very grounded and they were able to do that. This film, like, it was something, like, obviously I'm not going to talk about what sort of happens to Thor in this movie, but it's just it's such a different side to him. It's kind of a really brilliant blend of his comedy with his seriousness, because they kind of blend together almost seamlessly, because of the situation he's in this movie. And it kind of blows my mind in that way. The visual effects are stunning in this film. Also, like, other performances I'd like to mention, like, you know, obviously Chris Evans is incredible as Captain America in this movie.
He is the best person.
Captain America is my favorite Avenger, so... And like, and this movie, like, if you were disappointed by the lack of Captain America in Infinity War, you will not be disappointed. He's a lot more forefront in Endgame. Also, Scarlett Johansson was fantastic in this movie as Black Widow. You know, I did not expect, you know, anything they did with her character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, we are kind of trying to keep it spoiler-free, but I'm sure most of you listening to this have seen the movie, so you know what we mean. But yeah, I did not expect that at all. To be honest, it was just all the original six, like, especially what they did with the Hulk in this movie. Like, I'm so here for that. Like, I am so here for that version of the Hulk. Like, I think that's brilliant. Like, when they first, like, that first scene where it's like, oh, we need a bigger brain, and you go see him, I was like, that's amazing. Like, that is brilliant. Paul Rudd was great in this movie.
Ant-Man's so good.
Like,
in this film.
Ant-Man, once again, kind of proves my point that I think all the best Ant-Man stuff always comes in the team-up movies. Like, he's so good in this movie.
What about Ant-Man and all?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I know you like that movie, but I still stand by it. I still think that all the best, like, Ant-Man stuff is in Civil War and now in this movie. He's brilliant. He blends with the Avengers so well. And just, like, everything, you know, I just think, I don't even know what to say about this movie. It's a brilliant conclusion. If you're a fan of the MCU, you will be so satisfied with how this movie wraps up and how it, you know, sets up things going forward into Phase 4 and how it just wraps up all the past 11 years. But in regards to a couple of negatives, I do have a couple. I do think it's a little incoherent at times. I think the logic surrounding the main plot of the film is not as well explained as it could have been, and is a little lazy, because there's a particular thing they introduce where they're kind of like, oh, this isn't the way you think it is, you know, this isn't the way you're typically knowing it to be, and to me that kind of, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm getting at?
I don't really have that same query. I actually don't really have many queries. I think my only query might be Hulk, because I really like him in the film, but I'm unsure as to what, like, I want to see from him in the future. I'm unsure as to his future, basically.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with Hulk going forward, but
I feel like, I don't know. I rewatched some of The Incredible Hulk. I think it's much better than it gets its credit.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. No,
I feel like he's got more charm, he's more likable, but I think he's lost some of the Hulk inside of him. I know he's not the Hulk anymore. I don't know. I feel like maybe they have gone a little bit too far. I'm not sure though.
I've kind of seen people say this. The Hulk is such a different character now to, like, where we first kind of met him. Like, even if we're just talking about Mark Ruffalo's version of the Hulk, like, in the Avengers, he was very, very different to what he is now. And I don't know if that's a creative decision or if that's what Mark Ruffalo's done with the character, but it feels a bit odd. But going back to sort of the negative, like, the way I kind of look at it is like, with this particular plot thing, can I just say it? Because this is spoiler ahead if you've not seen Endgame. So anyway, 3, 2, 1, time travel, as Hulk would say. I don't think this was as polished as they wanted it to be. They kind of, because they say, okay, if you go back to the past, that past becomes your present, so it's not, you know, things you do in the past doesn't affect your future. Fair enough, but I just feel like they did that because it makes things easier for them, because it's like, because obviously this movie involves time travel, it involves these characters going back to places they'd already been before, where they come across versions of their past selves, which, as you would learn in any other version of time travel, would affect the future. Whereas in this, they say, okay, no, that's not how it works. Which, again, it's fair enough, that's how they want to do it. It just felt a little bit lazy to me. It felt like they could just, like, and granted, it gets some amazing moments. Like the Captain America versus Captain America fight, brilliant. I loved it. It just felt a little bit shaky to me. And also, my other kind of negative is that I felt like there are some things that are a little bit rushed. which is ironic given the fact this is a 3-hour movie. But I feel like there are a couple of elements that were not particularly as ironed out as I would have liked them to be, especially to do with a couple of particular characters, particularly for me, Captain Marvel. Like, Captain Marvel's not actually in this movie that much, which surprised me.
I thought I was surprised, but I think watching it a second time, I was like, makes sense.
Yeah, I was a little confused
She would
actually,
be too OP.
and this particular negative that I've just said has actually died down for me quite a bit because I was a little confused actually when I first saw the movie with Captain Marvel, because when she shows up, like, obviously she rescues Tony Stark and then she comes down to Earth, and I was like, I completely forgot about the Captain Marvel post-credit scene because they haven't really shown this, because basically Carol obviously comes back down and she's just like knows the Avengers already, and I was like,
Yeah, she's met them already. That's
Yeah,
what
so
they
I was like,
basically trying them for.
and I didn't realize that when I first watched it. I was like, so like how, so she just come down and now it's like they're cool. Like, I was like, what's that? And then I remembered the post-credit scene, but like we still have never actually really seen that. So, you know, that's just a little thing, but again, that's not really at the fault of Endgame or Captain Marvel. It's just it's like this weird in between bit that we've never really seen. But whatever, it's not a massive issue.
I didn't really have too much of a problem with like the time travel. I thought the time travel actually worked. I don't know.
I think it worked. I just think, like I say, logically, I think it works. It's just, for me, there are a couple of elements that I think could have been more well refined and actually made it a bit more intelligent. Because, like I say, I just feel like the idea of them removing the possibility of, you know, if you meet your past self, it won't affect the future. It's a bit of like a writing block to kind of be like, okay, this is fine. We can have these things and it's fine. Which again, it does create some amazing moments. The Steve versus Steve fight in the first Avengers is brilliant. I love that scene.
It is so good, yeah.
And like obviously you can have like Tony Stark basically interacting or being in the same room as himself. Like, because what I loved about all that stuff, especially in the first Avengers stuff, is you got to see what happened like after the big battle and all that, and you got to see, like, you know, the way they're all interacting. Like, you know, like Hulk was so funny in that, like, you know, when they're all in the elevator trying to get down with Loki, and then they make Hulk take the stairs and stuff like that. Like, you get like some really great comedic moments there. So it does create some fantastic moments. Just like I say, it was a little bit shaky for me personally, but I'm not going to hold it against the movie. Like I say, I still absolutely adored it. This was a cinematic experience like no other. There has never been anything like this. I doubt there ever will again. And as an MCU fan, as a comic book movie fan, I couldn't have asked for a better ending. I honestly couldn't. I couldn't have asked for a better ending, especially that very, very final scene. That was it broke me. It broke me. That movie it's something special. It's definitely something special. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again, and I can't wait to see it again. I'm going to see it again this week, hopefully, because it's just honestly, like, the more I think about it, the more I love it.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, just what it sets up for the future and things like that. Just the way it amazed me the way it brought back like so many characters. Like, I mean, it isn't really a spoiler to say there's characters in the movie because they did release a hashtag for him. But when I saw Korg, I was so happy.
Hey, I didn't like Korg in Thor Ragnarok. I thought it was
You're
annoying.
fired.
But
Get out.
when he was in Endgame, I laughed my ass off. I thought it really worked. I don't know. I just found him really annoying in Ragnarok.
Oh, I loved him.
And actually, one other downside to this film, as well as I think maybe the Hulk, I'm still not sure about that, is Valkyrie. I just don't think she's a very good character. I'm not interested.
See, I really like Valkyrie, but she was a bit weird in this movie. Like, because she's kind of,
I don't know.
She's kind of there, and then she's in the final battle, and then she's just like, okay, now she's leading you Asgard. Like, are we ever gonna see her again? Like, you know,
I don't know.
It's strange because there are rumors that they are going to do a Thor 4. Because apparently Chris Hemsworth has actually re-upped the contract, apparently, and it seems like
he'll be in Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah. It seems like he's going to be in Guardians 3, doesn't it? So like, I don't know.
They better call it as Guardians of the Galaxy. That would be great. I would love that if they titled it.
Yeah, and if we could get like, see, what would be cool is if they actually have the Guardians, and then you just have like Thor and Valkyrie and Korg and Meek in there as well. That'd be really, really funny. But there have actually, like, Tessa Thompson, who actually plays Valkyrie, has said there has been talks about Thor 4 with Taika coming back to do it. So it could happen, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. But anyway, any final thoughts on Endgame?
No, I think we covered it. So
yeah, so that's everything. Make sure you go see Endgame if you have not yet, but I'm sure you will have anyway. Wow, it's the end of an era. It does feel like the end of an era. Which is really, really special. But anyway, we want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. That does draw this one to a close. Like I say, we apologize for the lack of episodes recently, but we are going to try and get back on top of that now going forward. Make sure you share your thoughts on Endgame and all the other films that were reviewed in this episode, such as Booksmart and Detective Pikachu. And make sure you let us know your thoughts on all the news as well and things like that. Just let us know what you think in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, I've been Dec.
been Ben.
And we hope to see you guys again next time.